Hi friends, my name is Mackenzie, also known as Emtothethird, and this is my little podcast. I have got a lot on my mind that's both like heavy but also just like kind of musings. So this is definitely a more long-winded episode. The first half is a little bit of Rhinebeck processing, if you will. I had a really great experience at Rhinebeck with the friends that I went with, just how we kind of decided to approach the whole festival thing. And I had some complicated feelings about what I was kind of witnessing. And so the first half of this video is going to be that. I also want to mention in this intro that I realized just looking at the analytics of the videos and how people who are not already subscribed to me or following me on Instagram are finding them, and I realized that I decided to call this series a making vlog to kind of differentiate myself from the things that I did not like about other knitting podcasts. But what I'm finding is that people are basically, the way that new viewers are coming to me is by searching for knitting podcasts. So I want to make it a little easier for them to find me. So I'm rebranding this as a knitting podcast. And if you're curious as to what those sort of reasons are that I felt differentiated myself from other podcasts, then please watch the first half of this video. If you have no interest in that and just kind of want to see what I've been making, then I'm going to include a timestamp right here that you can skip to go to the knitting. So I went to Rhinebeck last weekend with two of my friends. They're part of my knitting group and just like people I've kind of met through the knitting community, and one of them is my upstairs neighbor, and one of them is a friend I met through knit night at my local yarn store. So we drove up Thursday, which was great because there wasn't very much traffic, and we drove from Boston to New York. I live in Boston. That's where I am right now. And the only concrete plans we had were to go to India Entangled on Friday, and then just to kind of go to the fair on Saturday and Sunday. India Entangled is set up at this point because it was so chaotic a couple years ago that they've started selling tickets for different time slots. I think there are 4 of them. And the first time slots of the day I think are $30, and then they go to 20, 10, and then 5. And we got the like $10 slot. So, I mean, I think it's important to mention that because there is such chaos is like one way of putting it, but almost like frantic energy around it. And I went last year and I enjoyed it because I was able to see friends, vendors who I haven't seen since I lived in California, but am, friends with online. So yeah, I mean, and so I kind of just like really leaned into that aspect of it, just like saying hi to people I know. But last year I think all I bought were a couple aprons that were sort of like in someone's booth. And this year we showed up probably an hour into our time slot just because we had no desire to be like basically Black Friday waiting in line and stampeding into this event. And I mean, it was still very chaotic. I also went, and this is important for a specific reason, in my Once and Floral crop sweater that I finished knitting, which was my Rhinebeck sweater. And I like stick out a little bit just because I am a confident fat woman. I am tattooed, which shouldn't I think it just like adds to kind of the novelty of myself maybe. And I have pink hair and I was wearing a pink skirt and bright colors. And I felt like I was also a commodity at this event that people were kind of consuming. And it wasn't like, oh, I really like your sweater, and I'd be like, thank you. It felt like people were like eyeing me up and down and not saying anything and not even like acknowledging that they were taking me in. And I don't know, I'm not even sure if that's like a valid complaint to have or thing to be thinking about, but I think that it was older white women that were doing this, that it felt like, I don't know, it kind of made my skin crawl. It felt like non-consensual somehow. I talked about it a lot, like over the last week and a half since I was there. And I still don't feel like my discomfort with it is valid. But that was another aspect of the whole thing. So me and one of my friends basically left not having bought anything. And our other friend, you know, had a very specific vendors that she wanted to go to support. But we all kind of left and were like, I don't know, it just was like very unfulfilling, very stressed out, and I don't think I will go back to Indie Untangled. And I feel very okay with that. So in that sense, just the sort of rampant consumerism that I felt at Indie Untangled really turned me off of it. Made me think about what it is about the knitting community that I am wanting to take part in, and how my community is formed, and whether there's space for an event like that for me. And yeah, there's just like a lot of elements that are sitting kind of with me that I'm chewing on. And I'm also thinking about ways that I could change future Rhinebeck experiences, because what I did love about it was the opportunity for me to go with a couple of friends, hang out, knit, and be intentional about my purchases, the ones that I did make, to, you know, intentional in the sense of who I'm buying from, who I'm supporting. That's what was exciting to me, was the opportunity to see these yarns in person, buy them, and support those people. So yeah, Rhinebeck as a festival itself was a little bit overwhelming too, and there were similar elements of it, but I definitely felt like there were more like my people there. I think there was definitely much more diversity that I noticed. It's still predominantly white, that is no joke, but you know, I did see quite a bit of diversity. I definitely saw a much wider range generationally of people there, so there were also like the age diversity was all over the place, which I think is really great. I've talked about that, I think, before, that knitting, I think, really fosters community intergenerationally, which not a lot of other hobbies do. And I saw that at Rhinebeck, and I still think that that's really cool. I just found out after I was at Rhinebeck that there's a podcaster meetup. And that also brings me to another something that I want to talk about, which is not specifically Rhinebeck related, which is that woosah. Which is that I've noticed in like the analytics for my YouTube videos that people who don't already follow me on Instagram or YouTube are finding me through looking for knitting podcasts specifically. And I think when I saw that, I started to consider why I decided to call this a making vlog instead of a knitting podcast. And I think the reason I wanted to do that was to set myself apart from other knitting podcasts that I've seen. Because of, I just wanted to kind of step away from like haul videos and like just being like, look at all of this acquisition that I have got. I really wanted to also focus on sewing, and I wanted to focus on mending and sustainability, and I'm having a hard time. I haven't seen many podcasts that have that very distinct focus, and I thought maybe by making it a making vlog I could differentiate myself, but I think what I'm doing is making it harder for an audience to find me. And so I am gonna start calling this the Emtothethird podcast. And maybe I also am playing with the idea of having a making vlog that is separate from the podcast. I'm not sure that that's going to come to fruition. I have ideas for it, but we'll see kind of how it goes. So this is now the Emtothethird podcast, and I really hope that I can, you know, kind of shift this to make it something that I'm really happy with, and to be able to form a community around these values that I have been kind of talking about. So like anti-consumer, like sustainable, and what all of those things really look like in a concrete way. Yeah, I feel really good about that, and I think it gave me a lot to chew on this weekend at Rhinebeck. So maybe next year what's gonna happen is I'll organize for the Sunday like a mend-in on the hill at Rhinebeck, so we can all hang out and mend a sweater that has been, you know, lingering. That was something that we talked about, me and my friends who I went with. That would be really cool. Yeah, so if that sounds cool to you, definitely leave a comment. I want to hear from you. If you've thought about any of these things, if you were at Rhinebeck this year and you felt a similar way, yeah, I'd really love to have some solidarity with you, and you know, I'm hoping that me recording this little blurb is gonna kind of get a weight off of my chest in terms of just what I've been thinking about and stuff. So yes, and also I have a lot to talk about in terms of knitting and sewing. So I'm going to grab my other memory card because I can see this one is almost full, and go into the actual podcast part of this episode. Okay, so before I jump into all of my knitting and sewing, I just want to say that I am really trying to be intentional about reflecting on what my experience was and how I can sort of make the experience that I want to have, and also how to be fulfilled by the experience, which I do feel like I was. And I think there's other people out there who have similar values and interests and sort of philosophies as me, and I just really want to find them so that we can all kind of be inspired by one another. And maybe in the next podcast episode, I'll post some resources for kind of what I'm talking about. I don't know what this philosophy is concretely yet, but I'm trying to get there, and I would love for you to come along on that journey with me. Yeah, so let me know. Let me know. It's all developing. Okay, so now finally for the knitting and sewing. So one thing I will say is that I have really been feeling like my outfits, especially for fall, are feeling the most like myself that clothing has felt in a long time. I've been really thinking about what inspires my sense of fashion, what colors I want to incorporate. I'm very drawn to other people who have very neutral aesthetics, but then I find myself drawn to, you know, other colors, and I don't want to, like, keep myself from other colors that I really like. So I've been, yeah, just kind of thinking a lot about it, and also thinking about natural dyes and natural wool colors and how those can be incorporated into my wardrobe. So that's like one aspect of what I've been thinking about in terms of clothing. And so this cardigan is one, I don't know if I've shown it on here before, but it is technically the number 9 by Julie Weisenberger, aka Coco Knits. But the number 9, it's called that because it has an asymmetrical like opening, so it looks like a number 9. And really I wanted to knit the pattern because I wanted her shoulder construction, and that was the weight of yarn that I was using, but I turned it into this little crew neck cardigan. And initially I had these little glass buttons on it, but my buttonholes were too big, and then I found these at my fabric, like local fabric place, and I love them. So I switched them out for that, and the yarn is Barocco black, no, not Blackstone, maybe Blackstone tweed. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it is a Barocco yarn for sure, and I got it on sale at Webb's. I bought myself a sweater quantity and Kay a sweater quantity, which I haven't knit into a sweater yet, during their like Christmas sale online, because I really wanted to knit some sweaters and I was having a hard time coming up with the funds, and so this was super on sale, so I bought it for myself. And I actually did knit the whole thing in the round because purling when I don't have to. So I knit most of it, I think. Yeah, you can kind of see on the edge here that I knit up until like it's top down, and I knit until about here, and then I was like, nope, I'm gonna knit a steek, and I just cast on I think 1 stitch and purled it the rest of the way down, which did not leave very much room on either side, so I did sew it. But I wear this cardigan quite a bit, especially now that it's cooler. It is a 3/4 length sleeve. I do feel that the armhole for me is a little low, which is maybe a good thing, because if you saw my sweater retirement video, which I will link here, I think here, no, here, I'm working on it, which I will link here. BO has been an issue for me for some sweaters, not so much anymore, but I'm curious to see if, because there's like a little bit more ease from where my actual armpit is, if maybe I won't have that issue. So I'm wearing this cardigan that I knit, and then I'm also wearing this peplum top from Peppermint Mag that I made out of some cotton, and then I'm wearing pink pants, which are not me made, but it's a really fun outfit and I like it a lot, and it matches my hair. So that's what I'm wearing now. Since I'm already kind of talking about clothing, I will talk about this smock dress that I made. I think I have worn this 5 days in a row in different ways, like with a shirt underneath, a long shirt underneath, a turtleneck underneath, a short sleeve shirt underneath, a sweater over it, with leggings, without leggings, and yeah, it's just the Ashton top, which I've made a million of and talked about before, from Helen's Closet, and then I cropped it. I gathered just 2 triangles that are a little bit bigger than the circumference of the entire bottom of the shirt portion. I gathered them and then attached them. The one thing I did was I had to kind of readjust the attachment because I had done it, I'd initially made it too low and it wasn't hitting me at my natural waist, and it just made my hips like really big, look really big. So I wanted it to be a little higher, so I cut it and reattached it, but my serger had white thread in it and it really is like showing up. I mean, I think I'm maybe the only one who notices it, so I'm not too concerned. But I also hand stitched all of the bias face, like the bias finishing down. Oh, you can't see, it's okay. Just because I don't have, I'm using my old machine because if you remember from last time I said my newer machine kind of freaked out at me, and I'm not sure that, I'm losing hope that it will be able to be fixed. So my other machine that is a hand-me-down, it does straight stitch like beautifully. It's completely metal, the whole thing, and it just feels like butter. And it does straight stitch super well, but it doesn't have a lot of different feet that came with it, and it's like not a name brand machine. Like, I have no idea what it is. So yeah, anyway, long story, I didn't feel like I could get a nice clean finish if I sewed the bias tape down, so I hand did it. But that was actually really nice, and I also did the hem. So it's out of a tencel, so it's kind of this like hefty fabric, and I think I want to make about 18 more of them because it's really just so comfortable. It's definitely like mid-calf it hits me, and it's, you know, not flattering, and I love it. It's so comfortable. So truly I want to wear it all day, every day. And maybe that will happen. So that's sewn, this is sewn, and also I have just a tote, like, as many times as I try to not use a tote bag as a purse because in so many ways it is impractical. Like, I can't find anything in it because it's just like a cave of my stuff. Baggu, which is a like pretty sustainable company that makes, I think they started off making reusable like grocery bags and really cute prints that are basically indestructible, and I'd highly recommend those bags. But they also make a series of leather bags and just tote bags and a bag they call a duck bag. And they had basically my ideal color as a tote bag, which is this guy. And someone, I won't say who, it was Maple, found a treat in my bag and ate a hole through it. So I was walking around with a big hole in my bag, and stuff kept like falling out. And so at Rhinebeck, I was like, I can't walk around with this hole. So I added a little patch of this amazing tattooed mermaid fabric. It's the most perfect fabric ever. So I added that. It like coordinates, it's pretty cute. I basically just got it on there because I only brought so much embroidery floss, and now that I'm back home I'm gonna finish kind of doing a whip stitch all around it and maybe do some sashiko mending to just really get it like stuck on there. So yeah, that was a little like mending project I did because my purse is just this bag full of my crap all the time. Okay, so that is sewing stuff, mending stuff. I did also immediately darn the hole in the heel of the sock that I did last time, and I've been wearing them, so they're nowhere to be found. I've also been doing some repairs on my shoes. I have a pair of these wool Birkenstocks, and this piece came off, so I just bought some shoe glue and repaired that, which felt great. You know, I was just like kind of worried about it for so long, and that was all it took. Was like overnight sitting with some glue. And also I bought these secondhand from a friend, so they're already secondhand, and then I've repaired them, so I feel really good about that. Okay, so knitting. I will start with whips and then move on to finished objects, because I actually have quite a few. I'm trying to like kind of speed it up. But okay, so last week I showed you, oh wait, I said whips first. Oh my god. I'm losing it, people. I think this is my only whip right now. So okay. So this is the Together shawl that I've been working on. It is quite large. I'm almost done with the second skein. I only have this much left. I did a lot of this at Rhinebeck, and it's quite big. So I'm following the pattern, sort of. But basically what happened is that I realized that the depth of it is the depth of my favorite shawl. So from this point to this point, right, where that center row of eyelet increases are, is as long as the shawl that I love to wear. If it's any longer, it's gonna get in the way, basically. But it's not wide enough length-wise, where it won't actually like wrap around my neck. So I was talking about it with my friends that I was at Rhinebeck with, because I did actually start casting it off just to see how bad it would be if it was short. And so I was like, yeah, this is gonna be way too short. So what I'm planning on doing is I started adding a little garter ridge, which I like a lot. And I am going to start doing some short rows to basically extend this piece to make it longer. But it won't make the point longer. And I have to kind of do a little bit of math to just figure out how many I want to incorporate into it. So I haven't sat down and done that. But yeah, it feels really lovely, and I really like it. I think it's gonna be really cute, and like, see how this is like brown and this is just this like amazing gray sheepy color. I'm pretty excited for it to be on my neck forever. And then even though I don't want to talk about like Rhinebeck haul and stash, I'm gonna tell you that I got stuff at Rhinebeck, but just as I start to knit with it. And one of the things that I was really excited to do was to get some yarn from Sawkill Farm, which is actually located about 5 minutes away from the fairground. We drove past it on our way back to our Airbnb. And they make this lovely worsted weight, totally my color palette. And look at how cute their little logo is too. Oh, is that upside down? There we go. And yeah, so this is it's called Squashed Peach. And it's on a darker wool, so it's dyed over a darker wool. And I got a sweater quantity of this, which I'm so excited about. And I ran into Anna, who is the owner of Circle of Stitches and who I stayed with last year at Rhinebeck. And she was with Ash of Sunflower Knits, and I was looking for yarn, I was looking for a pattern to knit with the yarn I got. And because a lot of the patterns I've been looking at lately are for DK weight, because that's the yarn that I just had milled for my company. And so I was like, oh, worsted now. Okay, let me look for a worsted pattern. And I found, just by chance, this sunflower knit pattern called Juniper, which is perfect. So the back panel, yeah, there we go. So Ash is wearing it in this photo, and they styled it beautifully. It's just like so gorgeous. And so it's knit in pieces, and it has a split hem, and the back is this like really pretty almost argyle lace cable pattern, and then the front is just, it's either reverse stockinette or garter. Let's see if I can find a photo. Sorry for the page flipping. Oh yeah, look, Ash's super cute. Yeah, there they are wearing it. And so the front looks like it's reverse stockinette with like one knit stitch kind of right up the center, and then you seam it together and then do the sleeves. And I also noticed as I was browsing the projects that people have made that Ash was wearing a cropped version of this at Rhinebeck, and that's probably what I'll do with mine too. So yeah, I started that, and I'm just, yeah, isn't that pretty? I'm super excited. So yeah, I think that's gonna be really lovely. And I did a swatch and everything, so I'm really excited about that. So so the yarn I showed you last time that I dyed with marigolds and then over dyed with and then put iron on, I knit a hat with that, and it's a preview knit for Brooklyn Tweed's upcoming holiday collection, which will be out mid-November. So that's done, but I cannot show it to you until next time. But I'll just say that that yarn coordinates so well with the saw kill, and I'm really excited to wear them together. That'll be like my winter outfit. Okay, so then I'm gonna move along into whips. No, FOs. What is wrong with me today? So I did finish Kay's little mittens. You may have seen them on Instagram. I guess like this. And then the saying on the back. And they look so good. They like them. And also I am keeping them until Christmas. And they can open them then. But yeah, I'm really happy with how they turned out. And then they inspired me to make myself some mittens, which I did with, I really just made up the pattern. I think I did, I don't know. I need to block them still, but yeah, it's funny. This one is like a little crinkly. But yeah, it's just garter stitch with a stockinette little thumb, and I did do a thumb gusset. And this yarn is Loop. They're known for their spinning fiber, but this is a yarn, I think it's called Yin and Yang, and there's 4 plies, and one of the plies is a different color. So in this case it's like this rusty orange and a mauve purpley, and then they also have a coordinating skein that is 3 strands of the purple and 1 strand of like the rusty color. And I got this actually last year at Rhinebeck, and I had used some of it for a sweater that didn't work out so great, but we won't talk about that. And so I made this little pair of mittens for myself. They're super cute and very warm. So I made that. What else have I been working on? I think that's it. That's actually quite a lot of things. Yeah, so my work is gonna be picking up, so I definitely won't have as much time to be working on stuff, but of course I always squeeze it in, and apparently I'm a pretty fast knitter. So I'll be working on that sweater, and I'll show you the hat next time, or the thing next time from the preview knitting. Yeah, so that's definitely, I'm like looking at the time, and this is a long episode. But you know, I hope that if you haven't already been thinking about some of the things I've been talking about, that now perhaps it'll be on your mind, and I would really love to hear your thoughts about it. I would also really love to hear your thoughts about possibly a mend in at Rhinebeck next year. I would love to hear your thoughts just about how, you know, how we would form, you and I, my viewers, would form kind of a closer knit community, closer knit, and where that could happen. I know a lot of people have Ravelry forums, but that's really not the way that I engage with people. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely some stuff to chew on. I'm very excited to see sort of your responses and what's happening for you in regards to Rhinebeck and community. But for now, I'm gonna probably go eat lunch. My mom is actually flying here right now to come visit me from California, where she's escaping a lot of fires. So I'm happy that, you know, she's gonna get out of that for a little bit because it's pretty stressful. Their house is safe, my grandmother's house is safe, but I know there's a lot of people who have been impacted by the power outages and, you know, all of this stuff going on. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you leave a comment down below about whatever you want. I just want to hear from you. And please subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out so much. And like this video, you know, if you want to. And I'll see you soon, very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye. Let me backtrack a little. Are you just gonna sit here the whole time? All of these vendors are, oh, man. Okay, bud, I think you gotta get off. Thank you. Good girl.